Alright, what's up YouTube? Here's the thing. A couple of days back on one of my live streams, we started talking about music theory, and I got a lot of good questions, and I busted out the whiteboard, and the response was awesome, so I figured we would take that same format and put it in a YouTube video. And I'm going to start a whole new series called the Whiteboard series, where I break down music theory concepts, and we apply them to the guitar, so that way you can really start unlocking the fretboard. But we're going to be tailoring this specifically towards those who are trying to get into songwriting and, but if you learn this stuff, it'll help you with improvisation, it'll help you be able to play to changes, and it'll just really give you a deeper understanding of music. So if you have been turned off by music theory or you bought a textbook but you never really got into it, if you enjoy the way I teach, I really hope that this makes this a little bit more accessible for you. And as always, leave questions in the comment section. I'll always get back to you. And if there's a ton of the same question, I'll make a video on it. But for today's video, we're going to start off with kind of like entry level. Like I'm going to assume you know absolutely nothing. And by the end of this series, we'll get into some advanced harmony concepts. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the musical alphabet. We're going to study one key predominantly for at least the first couple of episodes. And the key we're going to choose is C major. C major is really simple because we're just going to use the alphabet going up with no sharps or flats. So our alphabet that we're going to be using, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. All right, so these are the only notes that you can have in a major scale. We're going to go from A up to G, and then we repeat back to A. All right. So there is a formula by which we can form these scales. We're not going to cover it in this video. What I hope to get out of this video is I'm going to teach you how to build chords. Well, you're going to learn the major scale, this major scale, then we're going to use this major scale to build chords, and then we're going to learn how to analyze chords in different ways so you can at least immediately get some good feedback. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a number. We're going to assign a number to each of these. We're going to go up to 7, and then we're going to jump back down to 1. So here we go. Okay, hopefully that'll be better with the lighting. I just saw there's a glare. All right, so if I were to give numbers to all this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Now to give you a ton of information in one video that you can come back and dissect, when you see these numbers above, this is also annotated as the Nashville number system, but these are just scale degrees. The Nashville number system is going to basically tie into what these chords are. But first, we got to figure out what are these chords, okay? We're just going to focus on arpeggios, and we're just going to do 1, 3, 5, so no sevenths. If that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry about it. That's just for the guys who've been studying a little bit of theory, understand kind of the basics, to let them know what they're going to be seeing. So with every chord, and hopefully my mic works well enough here, but every chord we're going to have a root, a third, and a fifth. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this scale and we're going to build every chord that there is in C major. This whole concept, if you want to study this in greater detail, but after this video, you really shouldn't need to. You should probably just watch it 2 or 3 times. But this is called diatonic harmony. Okay? Diatonic just means like you can think of it as in the key. So we are diatonic to the key of C major. All right. So we're going to start off with our first chord, C major. So our root is C. Okay. There's a really simple way to build out this entire chart. What we're going to do is we're going to grab one note, we're going to skip a note, and we're going to grab a note. So the third in C is E. Now we're going to put our finger on E. We're going to skip a note, grab a note, G. So now you'll see in C major, the 1 chord is C, E, G. When we play this together, that's that good old open position key, or that open position chord of C major, C, E, G. Nothing too crazy, right? This is a major chord. Our second chord, we're going to do D. So now we're going to start on D. We're going to skip a note, grab a note, F. Skip a note, grab a note, A. This chord is D minor. All right, so In a future video, we're going to jump into how we know things are different between major and minor. But in this video, I just want you to trust me that in any major key, the major chords are your 1, your 4, and your 5. Blues, 1, 4, 5, right? Your minor keys is your 2, your 3, and your 6. And then we have one nasty chord called a diminished, and that is always your 7th. So what I mean by saying numbers, this means in the key of C major, we're going to have a C major chord, an F major chord, and a G major chord. In the key of C major, we're also going to have a D minor chord, an E minor chord, an A minor chord, and then our B is going to be diminished. I'm going to circle back around once we spell out this chart and explain the difference between a major chord, a minor chord, and a diminished chord. So hold that question if that's something that you're wondering, like, how do you know that? I'll show you. But let's go ahead and build this out just so you can see all of this. And I encourage you to do this with pen and paper. This has been the best way that I have seen as a teacher and as a student to really internalize this. Nothing beats writing it out on pen and paper, trust me. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing. E. Okay, so E, skip a note, grab a note. G, skip a note, grab a note. B. So these are our triads. An E minor triad is E, G, B. Now let's look at F major. Remember, this is our 4. 4 is major. We're going to do the same thing. F, A, C. Again, grab a note, skip a note. Grab a note, skip a note. Boom. All right, we're going to do the same thing with G. G, B. Oh, I got ahead of myself. D. And then our 6 is A, C, E. And our 7th is B, D, F. Okay, so I told you we would talk about what makes something major versus minor. So we're going to do that real quick. So notice in any one of these triads we've done so far, we've shown the root, the 3rd, and the 5th. So if we take C minor, or C major, and we say C, E, G. Again, we agree that this is the 1st, or the root, this is the 3rd, and this is the 5th. This is major. Now, when it comes to making a minor, the only thing that's different between a major and a minor key is the 3rd. So if I have C, E, G, again, this is C major. If I want to make it minor, what we need to do in a minor key is lower the 3rd. So this will become E flat. In a diminished, again, it's all going to start with the same triad. But in a diminished, we're going to have an E flat and a G flat. The other key, or the other chord you'll see, is augmented. AUG is what that's short for. Again, it's always going to start with C, E, and G. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to raise the 5th. All right, so that might sound like kind of gibberish right now, or that might sound like a lot of information, but here's how I remember them. The diminished and the minor chord, they kind of go hand in hand. They're a little bit more related because they both have a minor 3rd. And again, this minor 3rd, all it is just what we did here. It is grab one, skip one, grab one. That relationship, that interval is a 3rd apart, because that's a 1. C to D is a 2nd, C to E is a 3rd. The diminished and the minor chord will always have a minor 3rd or a lowered 3rd. So E will always be E flat. Same thing with G. That's the only differentiator, is a diminished chord has a lower 5th, whereas a minor chord still has a perfect 5th. Now, augmented and major go hand in hand together. The only difference is that this has a raised 5th. So if we were to write this out again, major is just 1, 3, 5. Minor is 1, flat 3, 5. Diminished, which you'll also see with like a circle, is 1, flat 3, flat 5. And augmented is 1, 3, sharp, oh, that's natural, sharp 5. Okay? So you can take any chord that you know, and you can apply these rules to it, and you can figure out major or minor, diminished or augmented. There are specific intervals that we can do and really figure out, take this to deeper levels, but if you can really just marinate in that and understand that basic concept, that'll take you a long way. Like, this is the 20% that gives you 80% of the goods. So the next thing we really need to do is like start mapping this out on the guitar fretboard. But I think I'm going to pause with theory, and I'm going to give you a strategy for learning how we can apply this to the fretboard. So give me 1 second to erase this. All right, so to recap, we're only working in C major. That's the only, from here on out, if you're going to be following this series, and I hope you use this as like a distant guitar lesson with me. If from here on out, we're only going to deal with the key of C major, because once we get a deeper understanding of C major on the fretboard, all the other keys will be easier, and we'll work our way into them. So trust in the process here. So again, C major is just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out 6 lines that are probably not going to be perfect, so I apologize for all you OCD guys out there. I just don't have a ruler. And we're going to give you a strategy of how we can apply this to the fretboard. All right, so to make sense of what we're looking at right now, imagine this being a guitar fretboard. These are our open strings, so this is E, A, D, G, B, and E. What I really encourage you to do is learn how to play, like, you got to learn your fretboard. Okay, so this is a big barrier in the guitar world, is knowing the fretboard. But this is fundamental. If you're going to follow along in this series, we've got to get over this hurdle. So most of the time when I'm talking to new guitar players, they think that they have to learn 6 strings times 24 or 22 frets to really know every note on the fretboard. That's a huge number. But then they might realize, hey, you know, the first string and the bottom string, they repeat. So this is 5 times, we'll just say 22. And that gives us a huge number, right? Still cuts it down by 22. However, still a lot of stuff to memorize. You may realize that the fretboard repeats after the 12th fret. So you really think that, oh, I only have 12 notes per string to memorize. And there's only 5 unique strings, so that's 5 by 12. That right there is still a smaller number, but that's still large. You know, you're talking about 60 individual things here. What I am going to propose is that we learn one scale across 5 of the strings, and really it's going to be 6, but remember the top and the bottom repeat. And we're going to memorize, we only need to memorize 35 things, okay? So now we've taken this large number, we've broken it down to 5 times 7, and that's only going to give us 35 things that we need to memorize. Memorize at first, understanding will come with time. So that is my proposal. 35 things. That means if you learn 7 new notes a day, it's only going to take you 5 days to know your fretboard. All right? It's going to take you a lot longer to learn how to really recall that instantly, but that is the goal. So don't get scared by this next part. Don't tune out. Don't drop out. Tune in, pay attention, and we'll be able to do this, okay? So the first thing that I really preach is learning how to play this on the fretboard. And we're going to do it string by string. I'll probably do a few strings, and then I'm going to encourage you for homework that you sit down and you do the rest of these. So we'll start off with the A string. First thing we need to know is, I guess, all the different notes that you can have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out the chromatic scale real quick, and so you can actually have a deeper understanding of this. Okay, so we'll start off chromatically on A. All right, the next note is A sharp or B flat. These are technically the same note, A sharp and B flat. These are called enharmonic notes, E-N-H-A-R-M-O-N-I-C, enharmonic. After that, we have B. Technically, there's a B sharp, but if you say B sharp, someone will be sure to slap you. There's also C. There's only a few places on the piano keyboard where 2 white notes touch. It's B and C and E and F. So, but we'll get to E and F. Then we're going to have C sharp, but C sharp is also the same thing as D flat. In future videos, we'll talk about when we know when to use one or the other, but for now, just trust me. Then we have D. We have D sharp or E flat. Then we have E. Then F. F sharp or G flat. G. And then lastly, G sharp or A flat. Okay? These are the only notes that are legal in music, in Western music. All right, that's it. That's all of them. We're not going to make any more up. So now we got to learn how to map this out on the fretboard. Now, the ones that we care about are just the natural notes. So we care about this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. That's it. 7 notes, right? I promise you, 7 notes per string. So let's start off on the A string. The first note here is A. Okay, so I know at A, there's also an A sharp, which would be 1 fret. If this is the 0, these are frets. Our frets are going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so on and so forth. All right, so that right there is kind of like your answer key if you just want to be like, oh, I got this, I'm going to jump ahead. There it is. So now we got to find B. B's on the 2nd fret. All right, after B, if I look chromatically, C should be right next to it. So the 3rd fret. Look at these as frets. Then we're going to skip C sharp. We're going to grab D. We're going to skip D sharp. We're going to grab E, F, G, and then finally at the 12th fret, we have A again. Boom. 1 string done. You just got to memorize that. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. You know, start writing it like this. You can do tablature if you want, if you really want to take this further. But what I'd really rather you do is write it out here and then work it in on guitar. All right, let's do F or E. Sorry, my brain's thinking one ahead. See here? So at the 0 fret or open string, we have E. At the 1st fret, we have F. Because remember, E and F, those are the only, E and F, B and C are the only times our 2 notes will be touching. All right, so we skip F sharp, we have G. Skip G sharp, we have A. Skip A sharp, we have B at the 7th fret. The same relationship. Boom. Then after that, at the 10th fret, we have D. Then we repeat with E at the 12th fret. All right, let's look at D. We have D, we have E at the 2nd fret, F. G's at the 5th fret. We're going to skip another. A at the 7th. B, C, D. All right, I'm just going to fill this in, and I encourage you to follow along and do this with your own time as well. A is at the 2nd, B is at the 4th, C is at the 5th, D, E at the 9th, F, G. Going on to the B string, we have C at the 1st, D at the 3rd, E, F, G, A, B. And then remember, these 2 strings are the same. F, G, A, B, C, D, and E. And that's it. Those are all the notes that you really need to know on guitar. Because if you know this, if I say, hey, we're going to play an F sharp, well, if you know where F is, you know F sharp's just right next to it. So trust me on here. Spend some time really diving into this and really studying this. But I'm going to show you some tricks. You should know your open strings really well, all right? If you've been playing for a while, you know that you can tune using the 5th fret. The 5th fret, actually, let me change colors. Here are some tricks. The 5th fret will always be the same, with the exception of the G string, as the open string. So if you know that the 5th fret is an A, then that already gives you some leverage of where B and C is. Same thing with D, D, G, G. You'll just have to get used to the 4th fret being the same as the open string. 5th fret being the same as the open string here. You may be familiar with octaves on a guitar. These are all tricks that I use to really get this stuff honed in, and then I'm going to give you an exercise to close out. So you're always going to have an octave of, like, if you take this string, go down 2 strings and over 2, you can form a triangle. And there always will be an octave. You can see G's here, G's here, A's here, A's here. And that's your power chord. Whenever you're moving up and down a guitar, like if you do a pointer finger, then stack these two, that pinky is your octave. Then if we're on the D string or the G string, the octave is the same, but it's over 3 instead. This will just come with time. But here is what I really recommend you do for an exercise. What I want you to do is set a metronome to 40 BPM. Now, what I want you to do is go through and find each note in the major scale on the neck. So you'll find all the C's, then you'll do all the D's, then you'll do all the E's, your F's, your G's, your A, your B, etc., right? So you'll go C, 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 and then bring it back down whenever the metronome clicks. C, 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 C. Do that on the fretboard. Bum, 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 bum. Until, this should be part of your warm-up every day. And then do D's. So then find the D, 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 D. Once you get that down, here's the next exercise I really recommend you do. If you were married like me, or you have a girlfriend that you live with, or someone who's in the house with you, it might be your mom, your dad, bother them and be like, hey, your note selection is only from C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C again. Call out a random note, and then I'll have to find it on the fretboard. So this is called active recall. So I'll say, hey, where's your A? You go, you find all your A's. I'm like, okay. Where's D? Go find all your D's. Okay. Where's B? Go find all your B's. G, etc. You want to go all the way through this list until if you're in a band setting, I'm like, hey, I want you to go from an F to an A. You should be able to show, oh, here, oh, here, oh, here. You've got 6 different ways by which you can play F to A now. But the trick is to really make it mechanical and really practice this and really marinate in this and take your time with this. Don't rush it. But I think that's where I want to stop for today on today's first episode. I'd really love some feedback. What questions do you have based on this? As you spend time on this, really think about what's catching you up. And then leave a comment below, because I want to release a video like this at least once a week for the first couple of weeks. Because these are just easy questions that I get asked all the time on my live streams. And I just hope that this really does help you out. Hey, if this did help you out and this did open up some doors for you, what I'd really want you to do is go follow me on Instagram at Guitar Artistry Program and at Damien Andy, and let me know what you're grateful for and what you enjoyed out of this video. If you're someone who is really struggling to understand theory and, more importantly, learn how to apply it, in this video, we haven't got to the application of it yet. This is just really 101, setting the groundwork for future videos. Reach out to me. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to help you understand music theory and also understand music production. At the end of the day, my goal is to really help you guys learn how to find your own sound. That's the goal of all of this. That's where we're headed. It's just going to take us some time to get there. Don't get stressed by the process. Don't get stressed by putting an artificial timeline on yourself. Fall in love with the journey. This is more than just a cute marketing saying. This stuff is for real. This has taken me years to study to really get this underneath my hand and in my brain. Today's video was mostly on the theoretical side, so all pen and paper. We haven't applied this to the guitar fretboard. You just have homework to do before our next videos, before we start applying this to the fretboard. But if you do want to jump the gun and you want to get one-on-one help, my value proposition is we'll work together for 12 to 16 weeks, and at the end of that, you will have a minimum of one fully finished song with a process in place and a studio up and running where you can do whatever you want to do with music. So if that is something that sounds enticing to you and you'd love to work with me, reach out to me. These are the two places where you can do that, and I would love to help you out. I guess one other place you could do is you could send me an email at damianandymusic@gmail. That is my email address. If you send me an email there, give me 24 to 48 hours and I'll get back to you. But I'd love an opportunity to work with you and really make you remember why you got into music in the first place. That's because it's fun and we love it. I feel like sometimes when we start looking at this stuff, it kind of takes the joy out of it. That's not my that's not what I desire for you to have out of this. Instead, I hope it's the opposite. But that's a good place for the first lesson. Take your time, write this out on pen and paper. There is no substitute for writing it out on pen and paper. But with that, my friends, hopefully that helped, and I'll see you in the next video.